Some number of years ago, I came across a quote that has haunted me since reading it. It was said to have been found carved on the wall of a concentration camp by a Jewish prisoner. It read, "If there is a God, he will have to beg my forgiveness." It is the voice of a heart that's borne more pain and more suffering than we can imagine, and it resonates with us perhaps even more deeply in a season of pandemic, where each passing day the news and death toll seems to grow grimmer and grimmer. And this struggle, this new normal, doesn't account for the hardships and sufferings that we each bear as individuals. It's the voice of a heart in the wake of divorce, domestic abuse, a parent, spouse, or child gone too soon. Whatever burden you bear, there are too many sorrows to name. It changes the paradigm. It makes God bow down at our feet and apologize for the evil, atrocities, and sufferings of this life. It says no good God would allow the tremendous hardship that has plagued not just me, but every human in history. A God like that is no God worth following, but one that has to grovel at my feet and ask me for forgiveness. Our pain cries out for an answer, and God's mouth seems sewn shut. This question of the reality of evil is undoubtedly the best against God's existence. It's hardened countless hearts against him, and perhaps rightly so. But I want to prayerfully posit an alternative. Not an answer, but an alternative. When we as people are locked in the throes of suffering, the last thing that we want are platitudes or silver linings. This too shall pass. Everything happens for a reason. They're not good enough. In the inconsolable moment of our grief, an answer is the last thing we want. Instead, I submit, we long for a person. A person, a friend, who cries, acknowledges our pain, sits with us in it, and doesn't try to fix it. We long for a person who will make us feel known, seen, loved, even, maybe especially in the midst of our darkest moments. And I want to offer that the reason we call this Friday good is the most profound offering that we have for our pain. Not in an explanation, not in a why, but in lumber. In lumber, in nails, in a man stapled to a tree for our sake. In the person of Jesus Christ. In all the pain and shame of the cross, the torn flesh, the nakedness, the mocking and derision, your weight is borne by him. He is the only one, fully God and fully, painfully human, who can look anyone in their eyes and say, I know. I know what you have gone through. I have been there and more. I died for you. I love you. He whispers it to the downtrodden, the poor in spirit and in means, the anxious, the angry, the despondent. He whispers it to you and to me. He can even speak it to the prisoner in the concentration camp. Because the carving on the wall has an answer. Hanging on his cross, Jesus begs our forgiveness. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. One of my favorite authors has a saying that what is friendship but the giving and taking of wounds? I think he's right. And that Jesus is the best friend that we can have, because all he does is take our wounds. It's why he is the only God who is worth following, the only God who can offer us hope in a suffering and evil world. Wounds require wounds. Scars demand scars. And someday he will meet ours with his. Know this. There is a friend for the suffering of your soul. Jesus weeps with you. He sits with you. He cares for you. And that is why we call this Friday Good